Facebook acts, right? There we go. We're getting live. Let me put my Facebook post so people know we're live. Okay.
Morale.
And we're good to go. We'll wait till a couple people get in here, but that's perfectly fine. Oh, let me open my restream just in case. Gotta have 80,000
Definitely.
fucking things on the screen, you know? All right. So, this is your girl LP, and we are back for episode 2 of LPTV. And we will be talking to Professor Pooch and Diggy Diamond again today. Let me move this shit off my screen. And just so everybody is aware, we'll touch back on a little bit about what we talked about in episode 1. So last week, we talked with Diggy about a little bit about copyright and from like a producer standpoint, a little bit about budgeting, as well as I don't know. There was a few other things, Diggy, right?
Branding,
Branding.
budgeting, copyrights. Yeah, it was one more other thing I'm probably missing out to.
It was quite a few things. Now,
Yes.
one thing that we didn't get enough time to kind of talk on was the placements. So we're gonna briefly talk about placements. My camera? Great. Okay. Hold on. All right. So we're gonna briefly touch on placements, and hopefully my camera turns back on because it's laggy. So yeah,
Yeah.
you can go ahead and start on that, Diggy, while I get this going.
Okay. So plain and simple. With placements, it's really only two easy ways to talk about it. With placements, it's either you could have a middleman to get you into the placement game, and we're not talking about artist placements, but talking about like TV, commercials, movies, placement, stuff like that. So you have someone that works with a publishing company to get you into that, or you could do the hard work yourself and do the footwork and actually get yourself with a publishing company or TV licensing, as a licensed TV sync company or whatever to actually submit your beats or music or whatever you have. So basically, if you're gonna do the middleman way, like how I do it, is that I have someone that actually submits my music on behalf, and they actually submit it to their publishing company that they use, and they have a repertoire of all the music they people that submit to them, the publishing company. And what happens is when TV and movie license companies and all this stuff asks for this type of kind of like genre of beats or songs or whatever, the publishing company will give them what they need and stuff like that. So that's how that works within placements, you know.
So if you were going to suggest like you for instance, you do R&B, hip hop, whatever. And if you guys are just joining this, please go ahead and share this out, get this out to people, let them know that we're live and we're doing the damn thing right now. Shout out to everybody that's on Twitch, YouTube, Facebook, everywhere that it is. Shout out to you guys as well. But like I said, would there be a more specific area that maybe somebody should focus on if they're more of a trap producer or if they're more of a, whatever XYZ producer? What do you think on that?
Yeah, I mean, I think always somebody should always be diverse. So, I mean, it could, if you are forte in trap, but you could have a lot of good success in like the sporty kind of commercials or like the 11 hip hop commercials that they use those type of things. That's fine too. But I mean, if you want to expand your horizons and broaden your opportunities, I think you should like at least dibble dabble in some other genre. So you could like, hey, if Pepsi needs this kind of thing, it's like, hey, I got this specific kind of beat right now. You just have the opportunity at least to submit it and you actually, get something out of it maybe. So
That's good. Now, one thing that's a lot of people might ask, say you put out a placement and you send a whole bunch out. How long was it before you actually saw something back about your placement?
woo, like 9 months to 10 months, like probably, yeah, it's about that long because you got to understand that it has to calculate all the things. So a guy placed in like Catfish was placed in September of last year. It takes 3 months for them to even pay out the royalties to the BMI. So even to that, and then BMI will get it, and then they'll forever to even pay you out, and it has to go by quarter. So if you miss the quarter, let's just say it's September, and they gave it out in December, whatever, and then the quarter just finished it, finished on December, they're not gonna make you. They're gonna make you wait until next year, like maybe March to the next quarter. So it takes a while. It is a long process, definitely.
Yeah, and I think I kind of realized that because I remember you posting when you got your placement on Love and Hip Hop that you did like a year or so ago before that, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I did.
So placements, we can say clearly say that placements do take some time. So if you're expecting to submit something like a beat or whatever the case is, even artists looking to play something, you are not expected to get something back automatically or even within a month, right?
Yeah, I mean, if you work with a publishing company and they want to pay upfront free fee for your beat or your song, you could get that and plus back in royalties too. But that's when you do the footwork and actually work with somebody, or
Right.
you have someone that puts it in for you and then they actually work out a deal. But you can get a fee for it too, but that's usually a big time deal, you know. So.
True. So the publishing companies, are they a good source to use as far as having them do your placement for you?
Yes, because publishing companies just don't do music and license music for like just licensing it and putting it out there for distributing or whatever. Most publishing companies actually get things placed and talk to TV like TV companies and movie sync companies or whatever, and actually get your stuff actual placed, like jingles. So
Okay. All right. Well, now, I will say this. We're just going to do a brief touch again based off of episode 1. And we wanted to kind of touch on it. Now, we can always go back into placements in a later episode if that's something that you guys actually want to hear about. We absolutely can. But tonight's
definitely.
special guest is Professor Pooch, who has over 50 years of experience in the music business, who is going to be talking about his 3-step program. Diggy, thank you for being on. I'm going to close you out right now.
Of course,
And if you want to hang out in the chat or ask questions or whatever, I'm sure you've got some. And then I
I
will
do.
continue to talk about who's coming on the show tonight. So we will see you in the chat. Okay, Diggy?
Yes,
All
ma'am.
right. Bye bye.
All right.
All right. So back to what I was saying in regards to the special guest tonight. So Professor Pooch, he has over 50 years in the music business. Chance, I'll make sure that Diggy answers that question for you. Um, he, I'm gonna let him tell you about himself. However, I'm gonna get him on the line here, and we'll get him pulled up and situated on the screen. And he'll be talking about his 3-step program, and he'll be able to kind of give you guys some more information and background on him. So let me get him pulled up on the screen, and we'll go from there. Okay, guys? Hello.
Hello.
All right. Let me get you situated on my screen here.
Yeah, so I could see you and see me.
Exactly. Let's see. Here it is. All right. Boom. There we are. So
I don't
introducing,
see you. I don't see you or me.
you may not see you, but everybody sees you and everybody sees me.
Oh, I don't see you. Okay.
All right. So this is Professor Pooch. Now, I let them know that we were going to be talking about your 3-step program today. But first, I would like you to just kind of give a little bit of background about who you are and your involvement in the music business.
Okay, and I'll try to keep a very long story very short. I've been in it for 50 years and I still look like I'm 25. Well, but I feel like I'm 25. I've been guiding I started out, first of all, as a recording artist with the majors. There was no indie anything back then. And I started out then and I learned the music industry the hard way for the first 10 years or so. And basically, uh, people could not, first of all, they had no idea what to do with me. And then they tried to make me into something I wasn't, which was they were trying to make me into this pop star, which I am not pop at all. And then how I got into this end was basically back then, I wrote a song for a major artist. And what happened was that I, I noticed that my name wasn't any place. So I decided I had three choices. I was either going to uh, continue getting screwed or quit the business, or I could learn the business from every angle, from in every way I could, working out in New York in the Brill building and stuff. I learned a lot about the business and legal end. And what happened, to make a very, very long story very short, starting around 1980, I stepped back because people started coming to me, Pooch, how do you do this? Help, what do I do? And all this kinds of
Sure.
stuff. So what I ended up doing was I found out I liked behind the scenes better. It was just more me. And it was great, and then through the years, oh yeah, real quick, I during this time I developed entertainment law, publishing, and management courses for the Art Institute of Philadelphia. And I taught there for about 8 years. But meanwhile, I decided I was going to stop getting people out of messes. Let's prevent people from getting into messes in the first place.
Sure.
I could go on for hours, but
Sure, no
what
problem. So let's talk about your theme of this year and how that ties into your 3-step program.
Okay, what it is basically is I'm trying to get people ready and prepared for the 2020s version of the music industry. And what's become very popular is I have this 3-step program, and I'll just tell it real basically and short to just give an overall view of it. The first step is you got to get your business and legal together because you want to look, let's face it, no major's going to touch you until you've already made it. It sounds weird, but basically you have to be in business for yourself. So you get into business for yourself. You learn about LLCs and all this different kinds of stuff, and starting your own publishing company, your own record company, et cetera, et cetera. But with this information we get from step one, in step two, we actually make it so that people, actually get protected and paid. And then in step three, you need a plan of action. I mean, I see so many people just, buy this outfit, buy this record, buy see me at this place. That's not the way things are done. You have to really build yourself up and really get yourself, a real career plan of action. You can't just throw, stuff up on the wall and pray it's sticks. There's an actual path to do it. So you're getting your business together with the information from business and contracts where you're signed to yourself, so you don't deal with anybody. You have your companies deal with everybody.
Sure.
Let's say Sony Records wants you. Okay, you become I'll make up a name, Professor Pooch Records slash Sony, things like that. You know what I mean? You want to own your publisher. You want to own your record company. You want to be able to license people to use your stuff without owning it, unless they give you an amazing deal. Now, if when you do really well, believe me, the record companies, the majors will hear about it and come to you. But now you're dealing from a position of strength instead of weakness. Instead of that 80 pages full of baloney, you get right to the point and just use them for what you want to use them for. There's some great examples out there, I can go through with artists and stuff.
For sure. So let's dive in a little bit more into. I know you went through steps 1 through 3. So can we dive into maybe a little bit more detail into obviously starting with step 1. But before we do that, I do have a question about how you got your name. Can you let us know a little bit about that?
Sure. I've been Pooch since I was a kid, another lifetime ago. I don't remember. I think probably what was happening as I was imitating dogs or something. I don't remember, to be honest with you. It was another lifetime ago. They say if you remember the 60s, you weren't there. So what happened was back when in the 90s, when I started teaching at the Art Institute, there was 4 or 5 Davids in my first class. So we all took our stage names. We're in the music business, right? So I called myself Pooch, and they started calling me Professor Pooch, and the name stuck. I mean, it sounds like I'm a rapper or something like that. It's like a rapper's kind of name.
That's too funny. Okay, so now that we have the background, has anybody ever told you that you resemble a wizard?
Well, actually, I'm an actor also. I deal also in the film world. I didn't know we were going to go into that. But obviously, I look like a wizard to a lot of people. And I've been a wizard in 3 different films. I've been in 35 different indie films as God, the wizards, mental patients, homeless people. I played a lot of strange parts in the movies. Basically, I've cut that off. I did some, a good amount of years in the indies and stuff. But music's my real thing, and I have enough to do with my own. I make a lot of edutainment kind of recordings to help people in the music industry, and that's where my heart is.
Yes, and I've noticed that one thing I do want to say about you and your platform, if you guys aren't already following Professor Pooch's page, you should definitely follow his page just because of the amount of information that he has on there is insane. And it applies to everybody that normally tunes into my show. And even if they don't, they still will find something very informative, interesting on that page. So if you're not following him, please make sure that you go over to his page and follow him. Now, let's go ahead and jump into, you said step one was the business part and contracts, correct?
Yes.
So,
First of all, the first thing you want to do, and by the way, the great thing about the 3-step plan is it's everything you need to do to be, yeah, can't I speak, tripping over my words. Everything you need to do to be prepared for everything you want to do in the music industry. Basically, you want to, protect yourself before you deal with anybody else, before you release stuff to the public, if possible. You want to get your business stuff together. And, see, there's so many gazillions of people wanting to get it in the music. To outsiders like the major labels or investors or major managers, they want to see that you are a business up and running. That shows them you're serious and it's not just a hobby. If you own anything, yes, you should think about getting an LLC. It's not that hard. You don't need lawyers or anything. You go to your state website and there'll be a place for you to start an LLC. But then what we get into is, if there's managers, if you have partners, if you're in a band, you better have an agreement with the band members. But I'm going to say something that's very, very important to think before I go any further. This confuses a lot of people, and I got to explain it. And that is, you have the underlying song, which is words, possibly melody and stuff like that, and you have the recording of the song.
yep.
They are totally separate animals. They're different copyrights, they're different sources of income. You hear about ASCAP and BMI and things like that. Well, that's just for the songwriter and publishing. If you want to get paid as a record company, as an artist, you need to join Sound Exchange. And what we're doing in step one is getting all this stuff together where you legally can do that. Where you could sign up with ASCAP or BMI, not just as a songwriter, but as a publisher where you own your own music. Because what you're doing with the publisher is turning over ownership of your songs in exchange for future cash and royalties. And you do want to be paid. At the same point, you want protection. And with the LLC and your publishing company, if somebody sues you, you're not losing your house. You're not losing your car. You're not losing your equipment because they're dealing with your publishing company if they're suing you, not you as an individual.
And
So
that's
what
important.
Well, yeah, it's very, very important. So what I do is first see, if they write by themselves, they should sign. What they should do is sign an exclusive songwriters agreement to themselves. And oh, by the way, let me state something really quickly.
Sure.
I'm not. A lot of people think I'm a lawyer because I know entertainment law inside and out. I am not a lawyer. I'm a contract specialist. I could do everything a lawyer does, but I can't go into a courtroom and things like that. not that kind of lawyer. I'm a contract specialist. And yes, I deal with contracts all the time and write contracts for lots of people. I mean, some lawyers even hire me to do the strange stuff. But, before you deal with contracts, don't just take them off the web or something like that, because it's not always what's in a contract that can hurt you. It's what's been left out of it. And all you can get on the web and stuff are templates and stuff. So you want to sign an exclusive songwriters. Let's say you're just totally you and nobody else. We'll keep it simple right now. So you sign an exclusive songwriters agreement to your own publishing company. Okay, that takes care of your songs. Now for your recordings, you start a record company. And people say, "Oh, Pooch, how do I start a record company?" I go, "Poof, you're a record company. Congratulations." There's no licensing really in the music industry. And if you want to, by the way, uh, for people, for all this information and stuff that I'm giving you, just remember I'm on professorpooch.com. And if you go in the upper right tab, you'll see free library. And you'll see articles in there. I do everything in text and audio, by the way. There's my 3-step programs in there and complete text and audio. There's my state of the music business address of what's really going on in the industry. And there's things like how do you start a record company, and how do you do it correctly and stuff like that. The other things that do come up in step 1, hey, folks, it's not music anymore. It's multimedia. I mean, if you're not on YouTube or wherever with your videos, you might as well forget about it, because 90% of the people looking for a particular song go to YouTube-like sites. And so people don't think about this, and I work with film people, and I have to teach it from that side, is that when you have an actor in your video, you better sign a release, have your actors sign a release form to be in your video. That means anybody but you, the artist, needs to sign a release form. And why? Boy, I'll tell you some horror stories. I could write a book of horror stories. But one horror story, I mean, just recently, a drummer's, in a band decides, I'm quitting this band. Take me out of your recordings. And because they didn't have a band agreement, they were stuck. And take me out of your video. And anybody that goes to see a live show sees that the drummer is basically the center of the stage behind the rapper or the singer or the whatever. You know what I mean?
Right.
The second thing is really important with the video end of it is whoever's shooting your video should sign a contract. And I'll tell you a quick horror story on this one. This just happened about a month or two ago. Somebody says, "Pooch, help. This video guy gave the video that we shot to his girlfriend to edit it." Okay, that's fine. But she refused to give back what is known as the B-roll, the excess footage. And I'm sorry, folks, you want the excess footage as much as you want the finished video, because fans today want to feel that they're growing with you, and they want to see you tripping over a chord in the studio. They want to see all the outtakes. So the outtakes are as important as the finished edited video.
Yeah.
And I rushed through this, of course. And of course, if you have a producer, obviously you should have a contract with the producer through your record company, hiring the producer saying, "Hey, look, I'm paying you, but I own the recordings." Okay. And also, if you have a featured artist, they have to be covered. If you have
a lot of them.
I know it's become addictive or something. It's like a disease. Everybody's using featured artists, at least one. And you need to release from the featured artist saying what they can and can't do with the recording. You don't want them going out selling it where you're not getting anything.
Exactly.
You want to be totally covered and protected.
And I think that's one thing nowadays that I kind of see with independent artists is that they feel as though those things aren't important because their word is just as good. You know what I'm saying?
word is useless. I'm sorry, it's
Yeah.
a shame, but I can tell you over and over again so many times where you get a hit record out there, believe me, they'll come out of the woodwork and they'll want to sue you. I wrote this first, I wrote this first. But the people who followed my plan had copyrighted it way before the major artist ever used the song.
Sure.
So we had proof.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Okay. So let's move on to step two.
All right. Step two is now that you have signatures on the contracts, you can then go and with your LLC, you get what is known as a tax number. What you then do is you can then join the publishing company, with, ASCAP or BMI, for example, or CSAC. I'm not going to go into all of them in the United States, and there's PRS in England. It's all over the world. They all have them, except the government owns a lot of them in the other countries. But the great part is, just like when you signed as a songwriter, you used your social security number. When you sign with as a publishing company, you use your IRS tax number.
Yep.
That's your protection. And with Sound Exchange, which is soundexchange.com, it's a quasi thing off the Copyright Bureau. But what it is, you want to get paid as an artist in a record company, just like the publishing should be 50% publishing, 50% to the songwriter. Sound Exchange should be 50% to the record company, 50% to the artist. But if you want to get paid as the record company, you got to show that you signed a recording contract to your own company. They're going to be asking a lot of questions. And going to another important thing with step two is the copyright. You want the publishing company to own the song. And it's going to see your name as the writer and this publishing company is a publisher. They're going to say, wait a minute, how are they different? And you'll see a little box under it that says, by written agreement. And you check that box because you signed a songwriter's agreement to your publishing company.
Sure.
See, and the same thing with the record company. You own the recording, okay? And then what happens? You copyright the recording. Remember I said there's separate copyrights, there's separate sources of income,
Yes.
And all right, go ahead.
No, you're fine. You can continue.
But they're the three main things, and then a lot of things go into. You should open a bank account, and you'll need your LLC thing if you're opening as a business and things like that. It gets into multiple things. The important step is step number one and step number three, where you get into everything about putting out your product, correctly.
Well,
So
let's
the
just slide
actually
into,
can be
we can just go ahead and slide into three if you'd like to. We can talk about what your plan of action, marketing, branding, etc.
Yeah, and of course, I have to be quite generalized here because
Sure.
everybody's unique. And please don't forget you're unique, because the first thing I'm going to bring up is branding and your image. Your image is what you play, the way you play it, the way you look, the way you come across to your audience, whether it's through the recording, on stage, in person, or whatever. And there's branding. You want to be able to stand out from everybody else. I believe God made us all unique. And I never try to change people. I try to bring out who they are if they don't, not sure, but it's hard to look at yourself. Look, I can guide other people's career. I can't guide myself. I mean, you're too emotionally involved. You know what I mean? But the branding is super important. The colors. If you go every place that there's ProfessorPooch.com, you're going to see the same banner. You're going to see the same colors. Luckily or unluckily, I look like I do. So I'm like a walking brand. You know what I mean?
You know what? That's a good thing though, because people will always remember you. Everybody that's in this show right now, I guarantee, will be like, "Yo, did you see that wizard guy on Ollie's show?"
Yeah, I mean, I've always had a beard until about 2004. And I said, wait a minute, a pooch should have a long beard, so I just let it grow, and that's how all the wizard stuff started. But it's me, it's just who I am. But even when I did music, and you want your music to stand out, you want everything to stand out. You know, you want as soon as they turn on your music, because we get into, I'll listen. Part of step three is I'm listening to their recordings, and I have studio monitors here. And by the way, I'm in Philadelphia. Obviously, the world can't come to me, but through things like, you know, Skype and Facebook video, which I like a lot, things like that. Uh, I can record what I talk about because, as you see, I give off a ton of information. And I'd rather people were paying attention to me than having to take notes throughout. They would go out of their mind. You know what I mean?
Right. It'd be a
So,
long book.
yeah. Oh, God. Yeah. 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 I've been known to go on for hours and hours and hours and hours, but I want people to know what's really going on in the industry, not what you read in the papers, which is usually the lobbying firms for the major labels and stuff. And I'm not saying don't work it out and get well known and go with the majors. I'm not saying that. I'm saying go to it with strength. But all right, let's talk about other important things in step three. Okay. Do you have your own .com? I don't mean through somebody else. You want your I'm professorpooch.com. You want your own .com. And this is your main important site you want everybody to come to, because this is where you could say your shows are. You could buy your merchandise. You can hear this, know where to go for the songs and stuff. Yeah, there's about 10,000 places where your songs are getting played. But if you want to sell your songs, let's face it, mostly through iTunes, for selling and stuff, iTunes and Amazon and your own website, if you want to do the actual selling. Oh, by the way, I have to bring up something that's very interesting lately. People are going back to vinyl.
I
And
know. That's a good point.
I will tell you this, one of the major new artists, she has number one song right now, is Billie Eilish. Billie Eilish sold 70,000 vinyl copies. And now remember something, her audience are teens and tweens.
Yep.
They just did a survey that 47% of all vinyl sales are for people under 25.
I remember that post.
First of all, the great part about it is, first of all, you can make good money from vinyl. That's something that can't be put on the internet real easily. It's going to sound different, things like that. And, it's just, think about vinyl. Matter of fact, a lot of the kids are doing, they're buying the album and they put the artwork up on their walls.
Yes, exactly.
See, the great thing about vinyl is the artwork, as much as the sound and stuff like that. It's the artwork. So vinyl is very big nowadays. And by the way, cassettes are still big in Africa. CDs are still big in Japan. It depends on where you are and what's going on. Japan, they like to hold something physical in their hand. Okay, so I listen to their music and I go through their, people's music, and that tells me a lot of which direction they should go. But what I'm also listening for are the recordings broadcast quality. That means, is the quality there that somebody like a major label will take it the way it is, things like that. Yeah, I know everybody has their own equipment now in their place, and that's really good if you can at least make the original tracks there. But if you don't have the ears of an experienced engineer, you should get it mix up, get those tracks mixed by somebody who really knows how to hear. A really good mix. You don't even need mastering if the person knows what they're doing. I mean, I work with a mastering engineer who's really a mixer. He mixes and masters in one step. The only exception, yes, if you go to vinyl, that's different.
Right.
If you go to vinyl, you need a different kind of mastering. I understand that, yes. But please, folks, you need to hear it in 3D. And I hear too much in studios, hey, we'll fix it in mastering. No, you can't always fix it in mastering, because if they can't reach in and EQ certain instruments and everything's up front and there's no panning and there's no depth, they can't make it any better. They'll just make it louder.
And that's a good point. I'm glad that you brought that up because I think there's a lot of misconception about the differences between mixing and mastering.
Yeah, mastering is taking a mix, and then what they're doing is they're reaching in and pulling. It sounds funny, reaching in, but they're EQing certain things. But if everything's sloshed together, they can't separate things.
Right.
See, I mean, the way I was taught many years ago, because I had a studio. I just don't have time to deal with studios right now. But I was taught you mix it like you're looking at a stage. And who's in front? Okay, the rapper or the singer. And the drums are behind. But the snare might be a little to the right. And the guitar player might be standing to the left. And the bass player might be standing back a little further to the right. And you mix it like you're looking at a stage. You know what I mean? There's depth, there's difference. Reverb gives depth, by
Yep.
the way, things like that. Uh, but I mean, I could talk about producing behind the studio, but let's get back to our step three. As I said, I could talk for
Oh,
years.
I know. That's okay. Let's keep going. We're good.
Okay, on step three, other things, we mentioned the website, we mentioned um, the bank account, the branding,
Right.
yes, merchandising and stuff. I'll give you two really, really important things to think about next. One, you need a great email list. Your email list is your money list. When you go out and perform any place, make sure you have a sheet of paper and get their first name and get their email address and tell them to make it legible, please, so you can read it. And you want to, if you go to my site, there's every page has a place to sign in to my email list. That's your money list, because this is where you want to do newsletters and updates of where you're going to be, and people take it more personally. It's not just throwing stuff up on the web and stuff like that. You're personally sending them an email list, and you're listing all these different things. This is your money list. And one of the things I'm going to tell you, it's kind of strange. You hear about these major label artists with 10 gazillion fans, but they're not making their money from the major labels because the money doesn't trickle down always to the artist.
Right.
But if you can get just 20,000 real fans over a period of a year or two, just 20,000 real fans, what happens is that if you if each of these real fans will spend just $100 a year on merchandises, streaming, whatever, that's $2 million. That's all yours.
And that's amazing. And sometimes I don't think people take that into consideration. And I think, like you said earlier, that email really helps connect to make sure that that ends up happening, right?
Exactly, exactly. And the second list is what I call a people list. Think of everybody you know that you've ever talked to for any reason whatsoever. You never know who knows who knows who. And it's helped me immensely. I had a boxer, I'm not going to name names, but a boxer came to me who was a well known boxer, came to me to wanting to start an entertainment company. You'll find that sports is entertainment nowadays, folks, just like music is film. I mean, it's all one, it's entertainment, folks. And I thought of, wait a minute, I got this beat that would be great for when he goes into the ring. And it ended up being on NBC Sports and played at the Prudential Center Live. I got paid twice for one thing. Another situation, I was recording this one artist when I had my studio, and her sister was acting in a film. I said, the bells go off, the light bulb goes off, and I'm thinking, hey, wait a minute here, folks. Uh, your sister's going to be in a film. Let me give a sample tape of my film kind of stuff to the film guy. And I ended up doing all the songs in the film. And, he played, by the way, the person in the film who handles the music is called the music supervisor. And I can go into all the things that you should have ready. Like I saw the previous person you were talking about, he was dead on different things. But, very important, very important. When you're in the studio, I don't care if you're a rapper, singer, whatever, at the mix stage, when you get the final mix, make sure the engineer also does a mix without the vocals in them.
So just for the
Um,
track.
just the track. It's
Yes.
very important. And people don't think about it. And the engineer's not going to care if it's right then and there, but if he has to go back into the system and stuff, but if you do it right away, then I mean, you hear it when you go to films, listen to I like to get people to close their eyes and listen to a film. You'll hear things you didn't know were there. And if it's done right, you don't hear it, you feel it. But you'll notice from the songs and stuff, there'll be just pieces of the music also put in, or in a commercial. You never know what. You have multiple sources of income from your recording.
Which is why those separate things, the recording and the song, are important, right?
Exactly, because exactly. Let's say, for example, they just, and I'm sure people have heard it. They've heard a song and say, "Wait a minute, that's not the original artist," because they licensed the song and not the recording. With the film people, if they want your recording and your song, fine, it's a double license. By the way, there's an article in my free library on professorpooch.com called Licensing Music for TV and Film. And it will go through the different licenses and things like that. It's all free and it's all there.
Did you hear that, guys? It's all free.
Oh,
Take
I give up a ton of free information. I don't care. I want people to know. And if you go to and a manager comes to you and you ask a manager, "Hey, what are you going to do for me?" You know what I'm saying? And they say, "Oh, I'm not going to tell you." Why not? They still have to do it, and the manager still is going to have to do it or whatever. I mean, God, I mean, I'll tell people anything. I'm not into managing anybody, folks. I'll guide your managers. I'll be happy to. Okay? I guide, just like I guide creative people, I guide publishing companies, managers, record companies, and stuff like that. And please don't forget to remind me to give out the free copy of, and I'm giving a free copy of my book, Professor Pooch's Important Points to Ponder, with like 200 and over 250 tips and stuff on the music industry. And by the way, it's part of my whole music business curriculum. I've written a whole music business college curriculum, which is in text and it's in audio. And you don't need to waste gazillions of dollars on colleges and stuff like that. I'm telling you, it's all here. And what I do, and you can see it on my front page on professorpooch.com, when I give you the books and courses, I also do this 3 steps. So the education is personalized to them. And I'm telling you, there's, well, I don't know, 12 or 1300 pages of text and about 34 hours of recorded audio with the whole thing. But it's always up to date. Matter of fact, I'm working on the 2020 revisions right now, because most of it doesn't change because my stuff's a general primers of how to get moving and stuff like that. But there are some, terminology changes, this or that, something like that.
sure.
But I mean, you can study when you want, read when you want. Some people like it because they don't have to go to classes and say, "Pooch, I'm listening. I'm working out in the gym and I'm listening through earpods."
Yeah, and that's great. So what
You're
is
exercising.
exactly. So I just want to reiterate what you're saying for everybody that's listening if they're not on top of it. So ProfessorPooch.com has all of these free resources. For those of you who tuned in to this particular viewing tonight, this episode, there is an email on the description that you can email and will receive that book that he's referring to about the 250 pro tips in the music business. So make sure you look all the way at the bottom of my description. The email is there. Shoot him an email and say, I attended LP's episode 2. Boom, he'll get it to you. But you got to make sure you put that in there so he knows that you were there. Now, Professor Pooch.
Make sure I get your email address so I can actually send it.
Yes, he needs your email address. So email him. That way he already has your email. So we are running up on about 7:45, which is usually about the time we start questions. Are you good for some questions right now?
Of course, anytime.
All right. So Diggy Diamond, who was the gentleman who was on before you, that was the one touching a little bit on placements. He said, I love this guy. He just explaining everything what I've been saying more and better. So thank you for being my clarification, Mr. Pooch. You're the truth.
Thank you.
And he said, and Grand Wizard, thank you, thank you, thank you. Tell him he has a new fan. His question is for producers, do you think they should copyright all of their work in one claim or to do it separately?
Okay, good, very good question. Because you can, a lot of people don't know this, you can copyright stuff with the Library of Congress as a collection. Now, here's where it gets touchy. I ran into this problem back in 1980 where I used to do all my songs as a collection. And what happened is a publisher wanted 3 of the 10 songs, but they all 10 had the same registration number. So it became a major issue. But if a person is just putting stuff out themselves as an artist, and if it's like rap or hardcore rock or something that nobody else is going to do, yes, the publishing could be done as a collection and the the recording copyright can be done as a collection. However, if you intend, like the producer was, of maybe giving one song to this person, one song to that person, you want different registration numbers. I know it's $55 a pop, if you do it online. But that's my answer. If you write middle of the road type stuff or pop stuff and other people might do it, as on the publishing copyright, you may wish to do each one separately. So it's one of those kinds of situations. Only you, the creator of the music, know if somebody else could possibly want to do it. I mean, rap, you don't have to worry about. Okay, nobody should ever do somebody else's rap, as far as I'm concerned. It's kind of strange, But with hardcore rock and stuff, who's going to cover it? But publishing companies, for example, they look for like obviously just tracks, but pop and middle of the road stuff, adult oriented stuff that they can give one song to one person, one song to another person, things like that. But remember, deal with your publishing company to their publishing company, not as a songwriter.
Gotcha. All right, we got some questions coming in, so we're gonna keep moving here. So, Ryan Murph, who is an R&B singer, and he's wonderful. He sounds like the new age Usher. You should listen to his music sometime. Wow. I think you would love it. He said, "What is the best way to promote oneself?" And then he also asked, "We'll do 2 in 1." He said, "Is it best to promote a whole project or a single?" So, self promotion, best way, and is it better to promote a whole project or a single?
Every which way you can. But to be honest with you, what I see now more and more of, and the great thing about having your own record label is I see a lot of people putting out like a song a month. Now, here's one way of doing it. Put out a song this month, a song next month, a song the third month. And when it adds up to an album, put out the album and push the album.
Sure.
You know what I mean? That's one way of doing it. But you want to promote in every way possible. But yes, it's through singles nowadays, pretty much. So one single at a time. And then eventually put it together as an album and put extra stuff in it. They get artwork and they get other stuff and, things like that. And you make it into a package. You hear about all these packages
Yep.
with all the fancy stuff, and you can charge a lot more. But
Yeah.
meanwhile, you're getting known, and people will be more apt to spend the extra money than the 99 cents or whatever for streaming it.
Okay, that's a good answer. All right, we have a question from Bite the Nickel Radio. Shout out to him. He asked, what does he know about the streaming points like Spotify streams?
Ha ha ha. Well, the point is, this is one time you really don't want to go to a major. See, well, I'm going to try to tell this in 25 words or less because I could talk for hours on streaming. And by the way, on certain things, a lot of people don't know this. A stream can also be a download. Okay, if you're going to like Spotify, you're looking for a specific song. That's a stream and a download. A lot of people don't know that, and that's where Harry Fox. I'm not going to get into all that now. It's way too much. Uh, the question on how much you're getting from streaming, it depends on who you're with and what. They're fighting it out. It's in court again. You've heard of maybe the MMA, which is a Music Modernization Act, and there's all kinds of things going on. And Spotify, they came up with the amount of numbers. Apple's the only one that agreed to the MMA setting of the rate, and Spotify and everybody else is fighting it. They're taking it to court. Who knows what's really happening? That's a shame. That's where vinyl is great. You know how much you put it out for a download. But the streaming, it's a joke. But something to think about that people don't think about. And this is a world of MSI. It's called multiple streams of income. You want to make a little from this, a little from that, and it keeps adding up. Those little bits add up. Let me tell you, it's like my books are on Amazon, and I get a little here every month. It's something in there, but all the books, you get different income coming from different things. It's the same way with music. You want to get from many sources as possible, but of course, there's the money things, which is your merchandise and your live shows and things like that. You know what I mean? You cannot rely on making a fortune from just streaming. But
Yes.
going back to step 2, and this is a big mistake people make, they'll sign up with ASCAP and figure that they're going to get paid. But wait a minute, folks, you can't just sign up with ASCAP. Every time you release a single or whatever, you have to let them know you're releasing that single.
Yes.
You got to go inside with your, your
register
password, and
yeah.
Go inside with your password and register each work. And if you do 5 versions of one work, you got to register all 5 versions so they can track you and you can get paid. Just signing up to ASCAP or BMI is not going to make you any money because they can't track what they don't know about.
Right. Very good. All right, so we're good. We've got like 3 more questions here. This one is from Kevin Glover. He asked, what is the best way to get started with a small budget? Where, I guess, should the bulk, or what's the best place to invest that small budget money?
Define a small budget.
Yeah, that's a good question. I guess maybe, I don't know, say they have like $5,000.
Okay, $5,000. They should be able to work at getting at least a single or 2 recorded well. Make some get some favors. Maybe a producer wants to make it as badly as you do. Producers don't get mad at me. But if you're going to buy a beat or whatever, never lease beats, folks. Majors won't touch it. I'm not going to get into that fully. But because you have 50 people out with the same beat, you want to be able to buy a beat or make a beat, take it into a studio, get it mixed well, and then you need to work on Facebook, your Instagram. And these are very important. People have to learn how to use social media correctly. It can be used correctly. Uh, you need to be on every day, but not selling something every day. Fans nowadays want to feel you're part of your family and they're growing with you.
Yes.
Therefore, put things on it, like, boy, today was a great day and what happened. Do your Instagram lives, your Facebook lives, your Facebook stories, as live as much as possible. Yes, it's a lot of work, but that's what you're going to have to do in exchange for not spending a ton of money. And then you want to, yeah, because for 5,000, you can get a, believe it or not, quite a lot done with $5,000. And remember something, if you set it up, let's say you get the contracts in an LLC and people see that you're serious and it's not just a hobby, you might attract investors, that
Exactly.
believe in you. Look for somebody that has some good money that really believes in you, and they see you're busy every day on Instagram and Facebook and everything like that, and you're set up with an LLC. You showed you're serious. You signed contracts. You might get an investor. In other words, a partner to help you out.
Yes, and that would be great for, I think, for any indie that would do. But okay, so we have a question that I actually talked to you about in the past, or at least we briefly touched on it. Will Smith asked, "Is sync licensing a good way to get music out there? And if anything, maybe explain sync licensing in general and what it does and what it's responsible for."
Okay, there's three major licenses that come up with songwriting. There's your mechanical, which is stuff played on mechanical devices. DPD, which is digital product delivery. That means the downloads, that kinds of streaming and stuff. But sync licensing is when you're putting music to a visual image, a moving image, TV, film. Video games are hot as you know what nowadays, folks. And boy, it's hot in Philly. I'll tell you, it's like 100 here. But but yeah, it's sync license. And the great thing is, if you get into major film, you get paid cash up front. That's what's great about sync. You don't have to wait for royalties. Yes, you still want to put it up on ASCAP and tell them you're releasing and stuff, so in case it's played someplace. But yes, sync licensing is great. Please go to my free library, go into licensing music for TV and film, and there's a lot on sync licensing from both angles, from the music person to the film person. And folks, join a film society in your area. The great part about acting in a film, folks, if you're a performer, you're an actor too. Is how many rappers or I mean, I see plenty of rappers on TV and film, and that's a great way. You see the script and say, "Hey, director, producer, I got a song that fits right in there, and it's worked for me, folks. Well, I've gotten songs in TV and film by acting. So, I mean, in Philadelphia, we have the film societies. I go to where the film people are going, mix in with them. There's film people on the internet. I mean, there's two major ones right here in Philly that I go to all the time. If I wanted to play something or whatever,
Right.
you know, you gotta you got to get out there. But yes, sync licensing is syncing your music to a moving image, and folks, that includes YouTube.
Yes. Yes.
And what you're doing is if you're putting stuff out as a recording, in effect, if your recording contract is done right, you're licensing your music from your publishing company to your record company to be able to do that.
Okay. All right. So Ryan had one more question for you. This is in regards to having done a song on a leased beat. So his question was, if you have a great song on a leased beat, is it pointless to promote it?
It's not pointless at all, because if that's what you're doing in the beginning to get known, fine, do it. But you don't expect a major label to pick it up. let's face it, if you're doing it, if you're leasing the beat, somebody else. Now, some people give you leasing with the option to buy.
Right.
And if you do something like that, that's fine. But I would ask, have you sold it to anybody? Have you leased it to anybody else? Say with an exclusive, when you're buying it, it
Yep.
should state in the contract that I would write for them, that I now own it. You don't own it anymore. Thank you. It was nice doing business with you, Mr. Uh, Leaser, licensed or whatever.
Sure. That makes sense. And now we talked about with Diggy previously in the last episode where you have a lease, you have an exclusive lease, and then you have the exclusive, which is they don't own anything. The producer does not anymore own anything. The artist does. Is that correct?
Well,
Or do people get those words kind of mixed
yeah,
up a little bit?
Look, there's either leasing it or there's selling it. There's no in between, really, because maybe you can lease it exclusively for 6 months, but you then have to buy it. That's one way, I guess you could work out something like that. You know what I mean? But there's either you lease it or you buy it.
Sure. That's
My thing
cutthroat.
is, if you're going to do anything, I recommend you buy it if you can. But if you have to lease it just to get known, that's understood in the beginning. I understand that.
Sure. Sure. Okay, we have a really good question now. Martino popped in. Martino is responsible for a lot of the graphics on my show. I'm not sure if you're aware of that or not, but I always like to point it out. He does an excellent job for my show and helps me always look clean. So his question was, he said the internet is largely overrun by rap and hip hop. What are the best avenues for promoting pop, or maybe like Ryan with R&B? How can they stick out in a sea of, that they're kind of maybe drowning in?
Well, you're going to have to drown with everybody. That's point one. Plus, go to places and sites, Facebook sites, Instagram sites where there's more of that audience. You know what I mean? You have to you need target audiences. That's what, when you get Facebook ads and things like that, you're trying to target an audience. And you want people that maybe go to other people who your music is like other people's music is like your music. And then try to see who their fans are and try to go to them, things like that. It's been done since way back that I can remember. But yes, you still need YouTube. Believe me, I see pop, I see plenty of rock, I see all kinds of music on YouTube. But YouTube is not the only place to put it. Remember, there's Facebook video. There's all kinds of places to do stuff.
Sure. And one thing I do want to say too, because a friend of mine, so Dimitri, he's a producer as well. He does like electronica music, and he's great at it. It's wonderful. I think you would also like him too. He likes to kind of say that when it comes to getting your music to those right people, he is so organized and has a list of certain blogs, music blogs, and stuff of that nature that where you can see like what kind of music that it is that they mostly take, or whatever the case is. That, would you agree that that is also a good tool to get that music out there?
That's a very good tool, but use it correctly. What I mean by that is, don't just deluge with them. Make friends with these bloggers.
Build a relationship, right?
Build a relation. It's the music industry is about relationships, folks. Build a relationship. Don't just say, here, take the, I'm exaggerating.
No, you're not exaggerating at all, because that's literally
Buy my
what some
beats
people
or else.
Yeah, it's like, here's my link, bye. Like, that's what people do. And that doesn't work.
No, look, be persistent, but be professional.
Yes.
Let me give a good definition of professional. Professional to me, being professional, in one word I can describe professional, it's called respect. And that's respecting your art, respecting other people's art, respecting everybody, respecting yourself, respecting everything. That's being professional. And, be persistent, but be professional. If you're obnoxious, man, they ain't going to talk to you.
Right. Yeah, I agree. Like you have to have some sort of want to actually build with the person you're trying to connect with. Is how I feel. If you guys have the same interests, the same music taste, whatever, I think it's easier to form that relationship and it'll come more naturally as opposed to trying to just force whatever down whoever that's going to open your inbox basically, you know.
Yeah, you
Um
can't force it because they could easily look. They could deluge with probably hundreds of millions of people. I may be
sure.
exaggerating slightly, but I mean, there's hundreds of millions of people. It seems like they want to make it, in music. Believe it or not, people say, "Well, I'm not getting paid." They still want to make it in music,
Right.
but you got to be serious about your music, and you got to do the work. You got to build relationships, and not just on social media. Go out, do open mics, do whatever you need to do. It's one fan at a time, but you never know who that one fan is. Quick story. I took a friend of mine, we went out to see this act, and it was a snowy night, and they were doing a couple sets of music. It was like 9 o'clock at night. It's snowy. It's just the two of us in there. And we go out there, and the band sees that there's only two people in the audience. And my friend eventually left, and I went up to the band because they were just playing like there was two people in the audience, which they should never have done. They should always play the same way because that friend of mine sitting next to me was a senior vice president of Columbia Records. You never know who that one person is.
Exactly.
And forget about the two people. The bartenders are people. The waitresses are people. Everybody who's there that's breathing is a person, okay? You know,
exactly.
and you should get into the habit of playing the same way every single time. You're a professional or you're not. They said, "Well, how do we know?" I said, "Man, everybody's, important. You never know who that one person is."
Right. I agree. All right. So we have another question for you. I think there might be maybe two more. We're a little over on time, but I'm okay right now. So
Long
Demario,
as you're okay.
yeah, I'm good. Thank you. Demario said, can I get paid for providing streams online, like an online radio show?
You, if you,
Kind of like maybe what I do, kind of sort of, but I
well,
think it has to
as
be more
soon as
legitimate.
ASCAP or BMI hear about it, they're going to be on your doorstep.
right.
I'm
yeah.
going to tell you that right now. If you're doing it and not making any money, that's the excuse. But see, somebody could rip it from you, is what they're going to say, and things like that. It's a shame. Look, ASCAP or BMI are what I call necessary evils because they do work mostly for the main people and they do not always really help the little guy. But it's part of the game you have to play. It's like necessary evils, like Google's a necessary evil. You can't do without Google. You know what I mean? It's hard to do without Facebook or Instagram or whatever, even though they're trailing you and doing everything, okay? But streaming without a license, be very careful. Well, but the worst thing they're going to do, they'll try to sue you or they'll just say, take it down.
Sure. Yeah. That makes sense. Okay, so Ryan had another question. Ryan's full of questions tonight, but I'm glad because this is truly what I wanted. I wanted them to be able to make this tonight to
Oh,
ask these questions.
we could do a night on questions if you want.
We can absolutely, if you guys want to ask more questions that we don't have time to get into tonight, I will absolutely make a part two to this. You guys
When I
can.
when I give lectures and stuff, we always do a stump the pooch afterwards.
Oh, right. Like ask everybody for sure. So
Yeah.
Ryan said, is there a specific site or business to get real promotion to see real plays on your music? So many people are selling bots.
Oh, be very careful. It even went backwards. Major artists who are buying likes, buying this, but you got to be very careful. You need what is known as organic followers, not five people from Singapore who have nothing to do with music. You know what I mean? Nothing against Singapore. I mean, but still, my point being is that you want real fans. Buying stuff is a total waste unless they could show that these are actual music listeners who will actually listen to you, who will actually maybe want to buy your merchandise and stuff like that. Don't buy likes. It backfired on major artists where YouTube numbers went down 100 million
Wow,
when they found somebody was just buying them up, you know.
that's
You gotta,
crazy.
you want people that do it. It pays to do it with real people that do it correctly by doing testing. It does cost a little, yes, but they test and see where the real fans of your type music are and things like that. It's got to be done correctly. I'm sorry. There's 10 gazillion people out there selling likes. It's useless. It'll make you look good for a few days until they find out about it and they drop all of them and you paid for nothing.
Sure. Completely understand. I want to ask the chat real quick too if we are still. It looks like we're still live. Oh, there we go. My screen was all frozen. All right. So now this was a ton of information, like a ton of information. So my question is to you because I understand that there's people in here who there was a couple people that said, "Man, I got a lot of work to do. You know, is this going to be available for playback?" Yes, the answer to that is yes. However, if you play this back and you still aren't really sure how to go about doing these things correctly. Professor Pooch, do you offer services to assist these artists to walk them through your 3-step program?
Yes, you'll see on this three-step program right at the top, I think it's where the web guy put it. It shows you how to go to my personalized three-step where I take you through it. Because, yeah, when I'm talking on here or on this, on my website, it's got to be generalized because remember I said towards the beginning that everybody is unique. So, yes, I do personal services. And yes, I'm very inexpensive. Yes, if you're a major company, I'm going to charge you. But, if you're a person starting out, believe me, my prices are very affordable because I'm trying to help people. One of my main things, and we've talked about it before, Holly, is I want people to spread the information around. I want people to know what's going on. I'm tired of Pooch, help, get me out of this mess. Pooch, help, get me out of this contract. Pooch, help, help. I want to prevent this. Yes, I charge a little bit of money, but believe me, it's very inexpensive compared with what happens if you sign something you shouldn't sign and it takes you 3 years to get out of a mess. Boy, could I tell you stories. I could write a book on horror stories, but which I don't have time for to do.
Right. We don't. Maybe not tonight.
But
Maybe on the next episode. We'll do
yeah,
a 2 hour
look,
special.
folks, real simple. If you want to reach me, it's Pooch, like in dog, Pooch at professorpooch.com. Pooch
That's
at professorpooch.com. You can put it up on your chat thing or whatever you use there or something. That's
absolutely.
fine. And yes, I respond myself and I do this stuff myself. And by the way, I do have complete music business education, one on one, including and all kinds of stuff. Look at the front page of professorpooch.com and scroll down a little bit. You'll see the different services and courses, and you're going to find them. Oh my God, it's a minute fraction of what you would pay for a college, and you can study on your own time. We set up, I work by video because I deal across the country and in different other countries. And oh, what's really funny is doing like a like live Skype or Facebook where one person is in Australia, one person is in California, and I'm in Philly and trying to get 13 hours. Oh man. I mean, I just did business with an artist in Kenya, a musical artist who needed a graphic artist in Japan. So yeah, I deal internationally and through video, it's great. And what I do, just like we're doing here tonight, I record everything when we're talking. Here, I didn't record it because Holly is graciously recording this. And but I'm, I record stuff because, yes, as you see, I'm giving out a ton of information. And I'd rather you be paying attention to me, that we're talking to each other, and not have to sit there trying to take notes. It wastes a lot of time. So yeah, you can take some major notes, but this way with the recording, you can listen to it later as many times as you want.
I have a feeling people are going to be doing that with this episode too. A lot of people have asked, like, is it going to be
Yeah,
available? Is it going to
spread
be
the
available?
word. Spread the word.
Yeah.
Spread the word. I want people to know what's going on. You know, and by the way, I never charge to answer a question. Okay. But don't ask me how to make you a star. That's
That's a little
be
much.
specific. If
Yeah.
you have a specific question, I never charge to answer a question. You get on me on my Facebook. By the way, my Facebook business page with the like page is /Poochcast, POOCHCAST.
And I'll make a follow up post with all your information just so if anybody's interested, they know where to go, they know where to find you. And again, guys, remember, he is giving away a free resource for everybody that tuned in tonight. The email for that is at the bottom of the description on this video on Facebook. If you can't find it, just send me an inbox to the page, whatever you guys need to do, and I'll help you out. So we have one last question before we go. Are you ready for this, Professor Pooch? This is more of an opinion, I think, for you on this topic, because we talk about this in my Facebook live group quite often. This is a question that we see in Facebook groups a lot, and we see a lot of people argue about it. So let's ask a professional. The question is, again, from Ryan. Shout out to Ryan. He said, how do you feel about indie artists that charge for features? I've seen many arguments that if you are independent and don't have this or that going for yourself, you should do everything for free because the market doesn't deem you profitable.
If you do everything for free, you'll be known for doing everything for free. I'm
Bingo.
sorry, I've seen it over and over and over again. At least get a favor out of it, or they'll appear on your thing, you'll appear on their thing. But I know people, and even if it's just $50. But remember something else about a feature. A lot of times with a feature, you're asked to write a piece of it. You might write the piece that you're featured on, like a verse or a bridge or something like that. Remember to get your publishing money and
Exactly.
songwriting money for that. There's other ways. What you could do maybe is for free do the artist part, but you want, 25% of the songwriting, 25% of publishing, whatever the thing is. But I'm going to tell you right now, I've seen it through my life. If you do everything for free all the time, you will be the only people that will come to you are people expecting you to do things for free. It's the way the universe works.
Yes. So don't ever feel obligated to do that. And sometimes I know a lot of artists will do work for work. And I think that's okay, especially if you mutually want to work together. I think that's the perfect thing because essentially you guys both appreciate the
Except,
kind of music that you do and you're building a relationship. Um,
except,
so
except if you're working with somebody else, there should be an agreement between the two of you of some sort. Even if you're doing for free, let's say I'm hiring you, Holly, and I'm not, there's no charge, and you're doing it for free for me. I'm going to still insist you sign a piece of paper saying you're doing it for free, not because you're doing it for free, but what about is you get mad at me and say, take me off your track,
right.
something like that. There's needs to be, anytime you work with anybody for any reason, there should be at least a simple piece of paper stating that you're going to do it for free. You're not expecting any more money. At the same point in time, you're stating also in there that you own the recording, and things like that, or you're going to run into problems.
Yeah. And I agree with that. Even I think a lot of people though, they feel as though if they bring up a contract that they're going
I
to kind of
know.
lose a friendship or something, you're going to cause ruffles, but it's not even
Then,
that. It's
then you're
just
not then you're not real friends.
and that's a really good point. And not all the time are you friends with everybody that you do music with, but even with friends, like I have Dimitri, who we're friends, known each other for 6 years, but we're always going to have a contract when it comes to doing business.
You
Period.
should. You should, because each side knows what is expected of the other person, and it solves a lot of problems.
Right.
You know what
Absolutely.
I mean? You don't want problems down the road. See, I set people up that they're set for life, basically, with the contracts and the others. They're set for life as long as they keep working just with themselves. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But man, you gotta have these pieces of paper. It's, you know what my answer is to about people that don't like contracts and stuff. I say, let me tell you something. I'll lay you a bet. Jay-Z, Kanye, Dr. Dre, believe me, they're using contracts because they want to get paid.
Right. Yes. And then
They're not
Dimitri,
doing no word of mouth. You know.
right. Dimitri even said, he said, "No, I hit people with contracts because we're friends." So he even made a point that he's trying to
Good.
protect both of us, in the long run. That's really essentially what it is, and I think more people need to look at it that way as opposed to saying, "Oh, what? You don't trust me?" Cuz it's not that. It's not
It's not
about that.
about trust because, see, it's a sad fact of life, but people change and people change people like a girlfriend, a boyfriend, or they're friends and everything's okay now, but 3 years from now, they hit some bad times and they're forced to ask you for money. You know what I'm saying? My thing is, when I do contracts, I don't think about just today. I think about what could happen 10 years from now. I have to think that way, so you don't have to think that way. But you should think that way. You got to think not just today. When you're signing a contract, don't think just today. What could happen with this person saying, I'm suing you on, I don't have a piece of, and you don't have a piece of paper with them, and they want you to take them out of the video or this, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it looks like I think everybody got most of their questions out. I guarantee there's probably going to be a part 2. So we will make sure that we end up setting that, because honestly this was great. Everybody really enjoyed this. Actually, more people, I mean, I think now that the word is kind of out and people now know who you are and the knowledge that you hold, because some people, I mean, just in general, people are always they're weary, exactly. They're skeptical because
I understand. That's why I tell people, look, even me, check me out. Go to go to Google and put Professor Pooch in.
yes,
Or
and
put
when
my
you
real
Google it's nothing but you, by the way, guys. There is from top, he is the first thing that comes up in the Google SEO. He is up there and all of his information. I mean, that's why I can't really, I'm sure if people were to look up, can I ask you when you were a professor in Philly, like what year?
Yeah, I was a professor from 1991 to 2004. And then I just got overloaded with way too much to do.
Sure, sure. And that's my thing. There's enough information out there for you to confirm that Professor Pooch knows what the hell he's talking
I'm
about.
all over the place. I'm all over the place. Just for Professor Pritchard, or go to my website and, check me out. It's like you should check anybody out. When
Yes.
I'm doing a contract with somebody, when somebody gives me a contract that they want negotiated between them and somebody else, the first thing I do is go on the internet and look the person up who handed out the contract. You're not signing a contract with a contract. You're signing a contract with a person who gave you the contract. Check them out.
Yes, exactly. Now, I just want to read over a couple of these comments. These are just comments towards you, Mr. Pooch, from people in the chat. Mr. Michael Washington said, "Thank you, Professor Pooch." Let's see. Kevin Glover said, "Holly and Professor Pooch, thank you very, very much."
You're welcome.
Demario said, "Thanks, Pooch." Brandon said, "Thanks." Everybody in here is very appreciative of what you do and the fact that you're giving this information out for free.
Thank,
And
thank you, Holly, for having me on.
absolutely. And I definitely think we're going to have you on again. So for now, we're going to say goodbye to Professor Pooch. I'm going to end his call and then I'll finish up the show here and let everybody know where they can find you and all of that information. Okay.
Sounds good to me.
All
Thank
right.
you so much.
Yes. Thank you, Professor Pooch. You have a good rest of your evening. Okay.
You too.
All right.
Take care.
Take
Bye,
care.
everybody. Bye.
All right, guys. So I hope your brain is not fried. That was such an amazing, amazing show. I really hope that everybody enjoyed the information that you found here. Platinum, all the people, new followers on Twitch, the new followers I hear have on Facebook. Please make sure that you like the page before you leave so that you can come and follow me. LPTV views every Wednesday, not every Wednesday, excuse me, first and third Wednesday of every month for the talk segment. Okay, on Saturdays is when I do my music review for indie artists. So if you want to follow me on Twitch, YouTube, Facebook, Mixer, any of those platforms, you are more than welcome. If you don't know what they are, just send me an inbox and I will help you find them. Now, again, everybody who tuned in today, if you would like to get a copy of the free resource, I will put the email on all the platforms right now. And you guys, all you have to do is email that email, send it a message, and you will get the link for the pro tips on the music biz. Over 250 tips on there. That is all yours. My music review is not on Facebook, but it is on YouTube, Mixer, Twitch, just because of the restrictions that Facebook has. I don't air it on Facebook anymore because I want to be able to give you guys your stream money. So you can submit Spotify, all of that stuff. That is the reason I do not stream on Facebook anymore, because I want y'all to get paid and we can play whatever we want without getting interrupted. So I just put that email in the pinned comment. If you want to, you can look on to the description and find that as well. So if you want that free resource, please take advantage of it. Make sure you follow Professor Pooch's page, and we will see you guys next month. If you have any other questions, just go ahead and DM the Eargasm page, and I will answer your questions then. Thank you all for being so much a part of this episode. It was great, and I will see you guys on Saturday for the music reviews at 8:30 p.m. Central. This will be available for playback. Don't trip. You guys have a good night. This is your girl LP, and this has been LP TV. Y'all take care now.